Yeah, and another point, Faith talked about the animal's nature changes. Yeah, and so once Satan and the demons and the fallen angels have been shut up, so they cannot influence anymore, so that prince of the power of the air is not going to be there. So that demonic influence and putting thoughts in people's minds that they didn't come up with themselves won't be there. So you're right, Christina, the influence is gone. So it has to come from folks themselves, which is going to greatly decrease. In general, your average person is not going to want to kill somebody.
Mm-mm. No, I can't see that because I've known a few people who've been to war and they've just not been the same.
Yeah, me too. All right.
And
Chapter
wouldn't that
20. Oh, sorry.
oh no, it's okay. Oh, I was just gonna say another thing is because Yahushua will be reigning, it's like he was before with the people. He knew the thoughts of the people. They didn't say a lot of the stuff that we see out loud. They thought it in their hearts, but he could hear it. So I think that's another part of people's hearts and willingness to do, even if their mouths are saying it, you're just going to be able to see, but your heart is actually not there, and maybe some correction coming from even that. Um, so that all of the people that are serving you will be of one heart and one mind, because we're all in true heart and mind loving him and not being a double talker, and not professing one thing, but inside we're doing something opposite.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and I think his bride will also have that gift that the true intents of the heart of the folks before her, she's gonna know, just like you said, Yahusha knew, even though they might say otherwise, he knew the intents of their heart. It was laid bare before him. You're exactly right.
Or like Sarah, I laughed and she's like, I didn't laugh. And it's like, but you did indeed laugh. And I'm like, oh
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody's going to get away with lying or, saying one thing and he's going to read right through. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. And that's scary for us right now, isn't it? He knows what we're thinking no matter what. All right, chapter 20. I'll read this one right quick. Okay. When you go out to battle against your enemies and see horses and chariots and people more numerous than you, do not be afraid of them, for Yahuwah your Elohim is with you, who brought you up from the land of Egypt. So it shall be when you are on the verge of battle that the priest shall approach and speak to the people, and he shall say to them, Hear, O Israel, today you are on the verge of battle with your enemies. Do not let your heart faint. Do not be afraid and do not tremble or be terrified because of them. For the eternal your Elohim is he who goes with you, to fight for you against your enemies to save you. Then the officers shall speak to the people, saying, What man is there who has built a new house and has not dedicated it? Let him go and return to his house, lest he die in battle and another man dedicate it. Also, verse 6, What man is there who has planted a vineyard and has not eaten of it? Let him go and return to his house, lest he die in battle and another man eat of it. And what man is there who is betrothed to a woman and has not married her? Let him go and return to his house, lest he die in battle and another man marry her. The officers shall speak further to the people and say, What man is there who is fearful and faint hearted? Let him go and return to his house, lest the heart of his brethren faint like his heart. And so it shall be when the officers have finished speaking to the people that they shall make captains of the armies to lead the people. When you go near a city to fight against it, then proclaim an offer of peace to it. And it shall be, if they accept your offer of peace and open to you, then all the people who are found in it shall be placed under tribute to you and serve you. Now, if the city will not make peace with you, but makes war against you, then you shall besiege it. And when the eternal your Elohim delivers it into your hands, you shall not strike every male in it with the edge of the sword. You shall strike every male in it with the edge of the sword. But the women, the little ones, the livestock, and all that is in the city, all its spoil, you shall plunder for yourself, and you shall eat the enemy's plunder which Yah your Elohim gives you. Thus you shall do to all the cities which are very far from you, which are not of the cities of these nations, aka Canaanites. But of the cities of these peoples, which Yah your Elohim gives you as an inheritance, you shall let nothing that breathes remain alive. But you shall utterly destroy them, the Hittite, the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, the Jebusite, just as the Eternal your Elohim has commanded you, lest they teach you to do according to all their abominations, which they have done for their gods, and you sin against the Elohim your the Eternal your Elohim. When you besiege a city for a long time while making war against it to take it, you shall not destroy its trees by wielding an axe against them. If you can eat of them, do not cut them down to use in the siege, for the tree of the field is man's food. Only the trees which you know are not trees for food you may destroy and cut down to build siege works against the city that makes war with you until it is subdued. So, of course, in the millennial reign, they will learn war no more. But I think what he wants us to understand for this, for where we are, is do not be fearful, but trust Yah completely. He goes before us. He's our protector, our provider, our strong tower, and our shield. And he tells us over and over, do not fear. And he's right. If we're fearful, then we spread the fear to our brethren, and he hates cowardly folks, and he does not like us to be fearful.
And as his people go into all these places, the places have one of three options. They can be tributes, they can be plundered, or they can be completely destroyed. Those are the three choices, right? But yeah, like that's what it says.
Yeah, I think Yah's making the distinction. So the land of Canaan, which they were given as a possession because of their extreme wickedness, is why every man, woman, and child, even the plunder, even the animals, were completely
Correct.
destroyed. And I think that goes back to the giants and the blood of the Nephilim.
Totally. Hybrids.
Yes.
Totally.
Yeah. So
So,
everybody else that weren't Nephilim, so the full humans, so to speak, or true, they either you could be tribute or the men were killed, but the women, children, and animals could be booty
right.
because they weren't perverted with the Nephilim and all their perversions. That's the way I read it.
That's the way I read it too. That's all. It's
Okay.
basically
Yeah.
verse 11 is if they are going to be peaceful with you, then they're tributaries.
Right.
They're not, you're going to besiege it, but you get to keep the plunder. And then the Canaanites, they're destroyed.
Right. And it's interesting how I grew up a Protestant and how many Protestants viewed the God of the Old Testament as mean and why would he slaughter children and all this kind of stuff. But it goes back to the lack of understanding of who the Nephilim were because nobody ever talks about they're a mixed breed between the angels and yeah.
Sounds
Such
sick.
lack of understanding. Yeah.
Came right over that. There is no Enoch.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else before we go to 21?
Ray can read it, he said.
All right.
All set?
Yep.
Yep.
Let's do it. All right, chapter 21. When anyone is found slain, lying in the field in which the land which Yahweh your Elohim is giving you to possess, and it is not known who struck him, Then your elders and your judges shall go out, and they shall measure the distance from the slain man to the cities round about. And it shall be that the elders of the city nearest to the slain man shall take a heifer which has not been worked and which has not pulled with a yoke, and the elders of that city shall bring the heifer down to a wadi with flowing water, which is neither plowed nor sown, and they shall break the heifer's neck there in the wadi. And the priests, the sons of Levi, shall come near, for Yahweh your Elohim has chosen them to serve him, and to bless in the name of Yahweh. And by their mouth every strife and every stroke is tried. And let all the elders of that city, nearest to the slain man, wash their hands over the heifer, whose neck was broken in the wadi. And they shall answer and say, Our hands have not shed this blood, nor have our eyes seen it. O Yahweh, forgive your people Israel, whom you have ransomed, and do not allow innocent blood in the midst of your people Israel. And the blood guilt shall be pardoned to them. Thus you purge the guilt of innocent blood from your midst when you do what is right in the eyes of Yahweh. When you go out to fight against your enemies, and Yahweh your Elohim shall give them into your hand, you shall take them captive, and shall see among the captives a woman fair of form, and shall delight in her, and take her for your wife. Then you shall bring her home to your house, and she shall shave her head and trim her nails, and put aside the mantle of her captivity, and shall dwell in your house, and mourn her father and her mother a month of days. And after that you shall go into her and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. And it shall be, if you are not pleased with her, then you shall let her go at her desire. But you do not sell her at all for silver. Do not treat her harshly, since you have humbled her. When a man has two wives, one loved and the other unloved, and they have borne him children, both the loved and the unloved, and the firstborn son is of her who is unloved, then it shall be on the day he makes his sons to inherit his possessions. He is not allowed to treat the son of the beloved wife as firstborn in the face of the son of the unloved, who is truly the firstborn. But he is to acknowledge the son of the unloved wife as the firstborn by giving him a double portion of all that he has. For he is the beginning of his strength. The right of the firstborn is his. When a man has a wayward and rebellious son who is not listening to the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and who, when they have disciplined him, does not listen to them, then his father and his mother shall take hold of him and bring him out to the elders of his city, to the gate of his city, and shall say to the elders of his city, This son of ours is wayward and rebellious. He is not listening to our voice. He is a glutton and a drunkard. Then all the men of his city shall stone him to death with stones. Thus you shall say, Purge the evil from your midst, and let all Israel hear and fear. And when a man has committed a sin worthy of death, then he shall be put to death, and you shall hang him on a tree. Let his body not remain overnight on the tree, for you shall certainly bury him the same day. For he who is hanged is accursed of Elohim, so that you do not defile the land which Yahweh your Elohim is giving you as an inheritance.
All right. I've always wondered about the shaving our head and trimming our nails. The
Well,
wife.
when you figure, she's made herself to look beautiful. Well, when all the makeup comes off and the hit and her hair is shorn, then you really see what she looks like. So, and of course, she's mourning, so that's probably going to take away from her beauty. But um but when you consider all the makeup and everything during war, they beautify themselves so then the men become infatuated and want to take her as his bride. So I think Father gives him that much time to make up his mind and see what she's really made of.
Good.
Either.
Yeah, good point. And also they say, like if you've eaten things that are whatever you consume comes out your hair and nails, right? So it might be that some sort of cleansing because the other nations, of course, didn't eat clean like Israel was. And obviously, if he takes her as a wife, she's gonna have to start walking in the ways of Israel. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like a cleansing too, I guess.
Well, and it's also to see if she will accept Yah's ways
Right,
or she's stuck in her uh, sins, if you will.
right. Is she going to be rebellious or not?
Mhm. Yep.
That point about the cleanliness and like kind of fresh start, it's reminds me of when someone gets when they have leprosy and they were supposed to like shave, right? Was it leprosy that they were to shave all their hair and everything? Is that what it was that they had to do that for?
It sounds right. Is
Or
that true?
Nazarite vow too.
A Nazarite vow too.
That's a
Yeah,
Nazarite. Yeah.
yeah. Definitely the Nazarite.
But I don't think they'll have that to worry about going into the millennial reign. Won't be having any more war.
It's
Right.
Leviticus 13:33, or if you start back at the 31, if the priests look on the plague of the skull and behold it be not in sight deeper than the skin, that there is no black hair in it, then the priest shall shut him up with that has the plague of the skull 7 days. And in the seventh day, the priest shall look on the plague, and behold, if the skull be spread not, and there be no yellow hair, and the skull be not in sight deeper than the skin, he shall be shaven, but the skull shall he not shave, and the priest shall shut him up that has the skull 7 more days. And the seventh day, the priest shall look on the skull, and behold, if the skull be not spread on the skin, or be deeper than the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him clean, and he shall wash his clothes and be clean. So I wonder what the total amount of weeks that ends up being, because this is a month, right? That she
Yeah.
has to be shut up.
Yeah. Yeah. Leviticus 14, it talks about shaving all the hair.
Would it be
And
in 13 also?
Yeah,
One of them is Tazria and the other is Metzora. I think 13 is Tazria and 14 is Metzora. Metzora is the one with the doves and the hyssop and the scarlet thread and the two pigeons. And then the Tazria, I think, is the leprosy. But you know what? I also think leprosy is attached to mold. Um, and the reason I say this is I have noticed um working in places that allow a whole bunch of people in, like hotels and resorts. I noticed there is a whole lot of mold in there, and you can't get rid of it. I can't tell you how many times I have gone into these rooms to clean them, particularly the toilets, and there is mold. I don't have mold like that here at my house, but it seems to me that sin brings the mold.
hmm,
And, I do understand that houses are built with bad timber, but where does that wood come from? It's got to go through a corporate entity uh, to be sawn down and prepared for houses. And they'll send it to the wrong place. I don't know if you guys remember back in the 70s and 80s, but they brought the wrong wood up from Louisiana to have people's houses built up in Oregon. And the houses quite literally began to mold because the wood was moved from one place to another. Just the climate was not good. But I kind of liken the hotels mold because it brings sin. And and it talks about that in Leviticus as well. When you go into a house and if you see a certain color of mold in there, you go in and you see if you can clean it. And if you don't, then you go back in there and you remove all the rocks and you see if it comes back again within a week. And if it just does not go away, then you destroy it. I would think a number of these hotels would be destroyed by now, literally,
Yeah.
because of
Well,
the
and
mold.
if you think about it, those that he Yah struck with leprosy, it was due to sin.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think about who is that? Who is that guy that acted like it was just a travesty to go to the Jordan and dip in it 7 times
Yeah.
instead of going to a different
Naaman.
one?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
It's funny. And he had leprosy. It's like, come on, you know.
yep,
I do think it's interesting, this double portion of the wife, the unloved wife. And in the end, so Joseph got the double portion.
yeah,
And
he did.
and that was the favorite wife, so to speak. But Reuben is the one that removed himself. I don't think Jacob would have kept it from Reuben, but because of what he did, he removed himself from being in the firstborn position, right? He went into Jacob's concubine.
Yep, and that is a usurpation of his father's role as head. And you see that so much with the kings too, right?
Right.
Absalom, I think, took David's, King David's, 10 of his concubines, slept with them, and uh, that was a big no-no. He ended up dying. I think it's Absalom, but it could have been one of his other sons.
Or Abathar. Yeah. Yeah, I just read that.
Yeah, his sons were a mess, a lot of them, right?
Yep.
And then verse 23, of course, was pointing to Yahusha, right? So the body shall not remain overnight on the tree. And it wasn't. But I think that's neat because I always taught that he was put in the tomb just before sunset, and that's not true. Remember, because Joseph of Arimathea didn't even go to ask for the body until sunset. So it was taken down, and he did make it into the tomb right before the next day because they would have followed these laws. But it also points to, if you put all the scriptures together, you can see his true time frame and all this. So in the heart of the earth, so his soul, so upon his death is when the time started ticking, not when they put his body in the tomb. So it's
Yeah.
interesting once you put all these things together and understand it's the truth. And also a tomb or a cave atop of the surface of the earth is not the center of the earth.
You know,
Clearly. Yeah,
yeah, it seems to me in 23 that they're not to let the body remain until the next morning. So anytime
exactly.
in the night you can come and get it. Just don't let the sun rise on the body on the tree.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's exactly what Joseph of Arimathea and his helpers did to Yahusha.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else in 21?
I can go on to 22.
Okay, great.
All right,
Let's
here we
see.
go.
It's 30 verses, so okay.
All right. 22. When you see your brother's ox or his sheep straying away, you shall not hide yourself from them. Return them to your brother without fail. And if your brother is not near you, or if you do not know him, then you shall bring it to your own house, and it shall be with you until your brother seeks it. Then you shall return it to him. And so you do with his donkey, and so you do with his garment, and so you do with whatever your brother loses, which he has lost and you have found. You are not allowed to hide it yourself. When you see your brother's donkey or his ox fall down on the way, you shall not hide yourself from them. Help him raise them without fail. A woman does not wear that which pertains to a man, nor does a man put on a woman's garment, for whoever does this is an abomination to Yahuwah your Elohim. When you come upon a bird's nest along the way in any tree or on the ground, with ones with young ones or eggs, with the mother sitting on the young or on the eggs, do not take the mother with the young. Let the mother go without fail, and take the young for yourself, so that it might be well with you, and that you shall prolong your days. When you build a new house, then you shall make a parapet for your house, so that you do not bring blood guilt on your house when one falls from it. Do not sow your vineyard with different kinds of seed, lest the yield of the seed which you have sown and the fruit of your vineyard be defiled. Do not plow with an ox and a donkey together. Do not put on a garment of different kinds of wool and linen together. Make tassels on the four corners of the garment with which you cover yourself. When any man takes a wife and shall go into her, he and shall hate her, and shall make abusive charges against her, and bring an evil name on her, and say, I took this woman, and when I came to her, I did not find her a maiden. Then the father and the mother of the young woman shall take and bring out the proof of the girl's maidenhood to the elders of the city at the gate. And the girl's father shall say to the elders, I gave my daughter to this man as a wife, and he hates her. And see, he has made abusive charges against her, saying, I did not find your daughter a maiden. And yet these are the proofs of my daughter's maidenhood. And they shall spread the garment before the elders of the city. And the elders of that city shall take that man and punish him, and fine him 100 pieces of silver, and give them to the father of the young woman, because he has brought an evil name on a maiden of Israel. And she is to be his wife, and he is not allowed to put her away all his days. But if the matter is true, that the girl was not found a maiden, then they shall bring out the girl to the door of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her to death with stones, because she has done wickedness in Israel to whore in her father's house. Thus you shall purge the evil from your midst. When a man is found lying with a woman married to a husband, then both of them shall die, both the man that lay with the woman and the woman. Thus you shall purge the evil from Israel. When a girl who is a maiden is engaged to a husband, and a man finds her in the city and lies with her, then you shall bring them both out to the gate of that city, and shall stone them to death with stones. The girl, because she did not cry out in the city, and the man, because he has humbled his neighbor's wife. Thus you shall purge the evil from your midst. But if a man finds the girl who is engaged in the field, and the man takes hold of her and lies with her, then the only man who lay with her shall die. But you shall do no matter to the girl. The girl has no sin worthy of death, for the matter is like a man who rises against his neighbor and murders him, a being. For he found her in the field, and she cried out, the engaged girl, but without anyone to save her. When a man finds a girl who is a maiden who is not engaged, and he seizes her and lies with her, and they are found out, then the man who lay with her shall give to the girl's father 50 pieces of silver, and she is to be his wife because he has humbled her. He is not allowed to put her away all his days. A man does not take his father's wife, nor uncover his father's skirt. Well, we definitely know verse 5 ain't gonna happen. A woman
Yeah,
does not, yeah.
no cross dressing. No, nope. Yeah, I think all that's kind of straightforward.
Yeah, it is. Now, although I kind of wonder if a woman's virginity could actually be faked.
I yeah, So I don't know about the verse 17. I don't know that I witnessed that for myself, so I won't get into that, but I don't
Yeah.
know how that works.
Yeah. I would probably be humiliated, mortified.
Yeah, I mean, maybe because again, we live in perversion and all. I don't know how all that happens, but you know,
Yeah. Yep.
but I think, you know, Yahusha will know. There
Oh,
won't be no hiding the truth there, so I'm not really worried about that kind of stuff myself.
right. I mean, you'd have to be pretty crooked to try to fake something such as that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. All right, y'all ready to move on to chapter 23?
Can I ask what clothing? I mean, I understand man not looking like a woman. What about a woman for men clothes? Like those of us that wear pants.
Well, yeah, but they're women's pants. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Well, and they all wore, didn't they all wear like
Robes or whatever.
robes? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I just think, there'll be feminine clothing and I think I'm sure even their clothing, their robes or whatever they wore, they were probably distinctly masculine versus feminine, whether it be the type of material or how it was made, you know.
That
I'm
makes
thinking, yeah, definitely the way it was made
Hmm.
to make a distinction.
I would think the men's would be thicker, tougher, heavier, you know, whereas women's are usually more flowy or feminine looking.
Like,
Kind of
oh, go ahead. Were you talking, Christina?
kind of makes you wonder what fashion's going to look like on
Yeah,
the other
I've wondered
side.
that too. Yeah, I've definitely wondered that. I don't think neckties are going to be there.
I don't think so either.
No, but what I was just going to say was I was going to reference like button downs. Like, there's women's button downs and there's men's button downs, and it depends on what side the buttons are on that makes
Yeah,
it men's or a woman's. It's interesting.
yeah.
Well, you want to know what makes the difference there is it's made for the servants. The servants, when a man is dressed, because I notice on my husband's shirt, I can do it very easily, right? To button his shirt down. So I think it has to do with servants. The versus the right from the left side, because when you put one on yourself, I think it's the opposite. The women's is to the left and the men's is to the right.
So what I heard was it had to do with battle. So usually most people are right-handed, and so when they would pull their sword, there was no friction. So the buttons would be on the right side, so the material would be over
So
there.
they didn't take off their shirt while they pulled.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah,
And
that would
same
be good.
thing, same thing with the belt. Like men's like the flap would go towards the right and women's would go towards the left. So there would be, so it's interesting.
Yeah, it's a little different. But what if you're a southpaw?
Yeah, you
What if
just
you're
get
what?
used to it. If you're a lefty, you just get used to it.
Just like, yep. Yep.
Learn to be apidextrous.
Yeah, too bad Johnny's not on here. He had a story. His older sister gave him some gold blouse or whatever, saying this would look good. Anyway, he wore it to school thinking it was a cool shirt, and then the girls immediately, why do you have on a girl shirt? And he was mortified. He didn't understand about the buttoning the wrong way and all that. He's hilarious when he tells the story, but his older sister gave him a lot of crap. It was funny.
That's where he gets his big personality from.
Yeah, yeah, it's funny. Okay, chapter 23.
Woohoo, I'll read again.
Okay.
I'll keep reading until somebody else volunteers.
Okay.
All right. 23. He who is wounded by crushing of testicles or whose penis is cut off shall not enter into the community of Yahuwah. A mamzer shall not enter the community of Yahuwah, even a tenth generation of his shall not enter the community of Yahuwah. An Ammonite or Moabite shall not enter the assembly of Yahuwah, even a tenth generation of them shall not even enter the assembly of Yahuwah, because they did not meet you with bread and water on the way when you came out of Mitzrayim, and because they hired against you Balaam son of Beor from Pethor of Aram Naharaim to curse you. But Yahuwah your Elohim refused to listen to Balaam, and Yahuwah your Elohim turned the curse into a blessing for you, because Yahuwah your Elohim loves you. Do not seek their peace nor their good all your days forever. Do not loathe an Edomite, for he is your brother. Do not loathe a Mitzrayim, because you were a stranger in his land. The children of the third generation born to them do enter the assembly of Yahuwah. When the camp goes out against your enemies, then you shall guard yourself from every evil matter. When there is any man among you who is not clean because of an emission in the night, then he shall go outside the camp. Let him not come into the midst of the camp. And it shall be at the approach of evening that he bathes with water. And when the sun sets, let him come into the midst of the camp. And you shall have a place outside the camp where you shall go out. And you shall have a sharp implement among your equipment, and when you sit down outside, you shall dig with it and turn and cover your excrement. For Yahuwah your Elohim walks in the midst of your camp to deliver you and give your enemies over to you. Therefore your camp shall be placed apart, so that he does not see unclean matter among you, and shall not turn away from you. You do not hand over to his master the slave who has escaped from his master to you. Let him dwell with you in your midst, in the place which he chooses within one of your gates, where it is pleasing to him. Do not oppress him. None of the daughters of Israel is to be a cult prostitute, nor any of the sons of Israel be a cult prostitute. Do not bring the harlot fee of a whore, or the pay of a dog to the house of Yahuwah your Elohim for any vowed offering, for both of these are an abomination to Yahuwah your Elohim. Do not lend at interest to your brother, interest of silver, interest of food, or interest of whatever is lent at interest. To a foreigner you lend at interest, but to your brother you do not lend at interest, so that Yahuwah your Elohim might bless you in all that you put your hand to in the land which you are entering to possess. When you make a vow to Yahuwah your Elohim, do not delay to pay it, for Yahuwah your Elohim is certainly requiring it of you, and it shall be sin in you. But when you abstain from vowing, it is not a sin in you. That which has gone from your lips you shall guard and do, for you voluntarily vowed to Yahuwah your Elohim what you have promised with your mouth. When you come into your neighbor's vineyard, you shall eat to the satisfaction of your desire, but do not put any in a receptacle of yours. When you come into your neighbor's standing grain, you shall not pluck the heads with your hand. Oh, you shall pluck the heads with your hand, but do not use a sickle on your neighbor's standing grain.
Hey,
Well, this is pretty straightforward.
yeah, Ray said, why did Yahweh say he hated Esau? I thought we were not to hate. I don't think he hates Esau, but he um Esau profaned um the birthright. For instance, it said, don't hate those who hate your, the word hate is used in scripture when it doesn't mean hate necessarily, but love less, right?
Is there a distinction between us hating and the father hating? Like he has every right, right, to hate
Oh,
Esau,
yeah.
what he did, and we're just as sinful. So I think there's
Yeah.
a line there.
I don't think the Father does hate though, and he desires even the wicked repent, but he will destroy the wicked if they lack repentance. But let's see. Any other thoughts on that?
I just think that Esau had just done abominably before Yahuwah. And Esau had absolutely no respect. So I do believe that Yah did hate him on account of that. But we're not allowed to do that because we're sinners too, just as it was mentioned before.
I do think there is a scripture somewhere though that Yah doesn't hate anyone. I'll see if I can find it.
And did anyone look into like the original word or what it means? Does it mean hate the way we see the word, what the word hate means? What verse was that?
Um, let's see, 23:7, do not loathe an Edomite. Now I wonder if that's the same word as hate. To loathe, to detest.
In the
Uh, to
Kingdoms, oh, go ahead, Chris.
yeah, it says it's H8581 to abhor, to be abominable, do abominably, to be abhorred, be detested in the ritual sense or ethical sense, regard as an abomination. I think there is a difference because this one does not say hate. This word is not hate. This is a different word. So I think we need to find the word hate in here. Let's see.
So it's in Genesis 21, I'm sorry, 27:41. Esau, Esau hated Jacob.
Okay, so okay, 27. Okay, that's a different one, and that one is H7852. And that word is satam, to hate, oppose oneself to, bear a grudge, retain animosity against, cherish animosity against. Um, and we see that in Genesis 50:15. Psalm 55:3. I wonder if that's the one. Psalm 55:3. Let's take a look at that. No, because of the noise of the enemy, because of the outcry of the wrong, for they bring down wickedness upon me, and in wrath they hate me. So that's not it. And it's only used 6 times in scripture. Huh.
Yeah. Uh, I know Yah hates actions and he hates the actions of some people and I'm sure yeah, we can keep continue looking on offline, but keep going here. What do y'all
Okay.
think?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and read the next chapter if somebody wants to go ahead and look into that other word.
Yeah,
And
and I'll write it down, something we can come
I
back
found
to.
it in Malachi 1,
Hmm.
3, and I hated Esau and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Could
what
that
was the address?
Malachi 1, 3. It's the Hebrew word 8130. To hate, be hateful to hate of man, of Elohim, hater, enemy, to be hated, person, nation, Elohim of wisdom, hate, enemies, enemy, foe, hateful. First used in Genesis 24:60. And they blessed Rebekah and said unto her, Thou art our sister, be thou the mother of thousands and millions, and let thy seed possess the gates of those which hate them. That's the first use. So yeah, we can look into that further later, but
Yeah.
a couple different versions of that word.
All right.
Kind of
Uh,
I have something else to ask about this chapter.
Okay.
One, chapter one, I guess verse one, since no one else wanted to touch it, is this more of a previous sexual sin, possibly, that, for a reason for their wounding, or is this a battle scar, or what I mean? Is this some type of sexual sin that was prior to, to this entrance, and also what is the difference? We're seeing community. Well, in my version, I'm seeing community of Yah versus the assembly of Yah. If we can discuss if there is in fact a difference between those two.
well, I kind of wonder if the wounding might not be if they got in a fight and somebody got kicked, or even by an animal. I mean, you just don't know how that wound came about.
Yeah, it's possible. I'm thinking of it as, is that some type of previous judgment that maybe they committed a sexual sin, and that was, if you
Oh,
steal, you cut off your hand, or, I'm thinking kind of outside the box here. Um, Another option is also, we're told in the law, right, not to, kick or punch in that area of a man, during a fight. So that may be, part of that as well. So just putting my thoughts out there.
Couldn't that also be like for the people today who go and do these changes, but then they come to learn after they've mutilated themselves that this is not the way and they've been
Born.
redeemed from that kind of
Mm.
Yeah.
lifestyle?
Good
Um,
point.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
or, born that way, which I doubt, once people are healed in the millennium, that would be a problem. But that's a great point, Faith. There's a lot, there just because you've done that to yourself don't doesn't mean you might not come to repentance, right?
Right.
But does that exclude you? Does this verse
I mean, this is
Well,
about priests, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Enter the assembly. Yeah, maybe I always took that as come into the temple, will not enter the assembly. But good point. I don't know. What do you guys think is talking about there?
Uh,
so wouldn't it, like a eunuch, I don't think anybody volunteered to do that. They could have, I don't know. but it also talked about the eunuch not say that they're a dry tree. That
Well,
might not have
Daniel
always
was a
been.
eunuch.
Yeah.
Right, right.
So that a king did that to him. So I don't think he didn't volunteer for it.
No, right,
Yeah.
right.
So
But I
yeah.
do think he was considered in the assembly now. Could he not enter the temple? Maybe
Yeah,
not.
right. And going into the millennial reign, I don't think we're going to have a problem with this. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, true. I mean, I think folks could be healed, right? Miraculously healed. Those that, if they have done something and then live into it, if they've repented, I kind of think y'all would heal that. So,
it would seem to me that it would have to be the congregation. Well, it says here as an organized body. Well, the organized body is usually the priesthood, and the people who come, they're the ones who receive from the organized body instruction and
yeah,
uh
that's a good point. And he's very clear that the priesthood cannot have any
right.
blemishes.
Would that also equate to men having vasectomies? Because that's also a cutting off. You're not physically cutting off, but you're cutting off life that of seed and of that, because that's pushed to a lot of people and to a lot of men, to have that, for not to have children. But wouldn't that, I would think that would also be a type of cutting off or mutilization to yourself.
I would agree. And I think too, again, going into the millennial reign, I don't think any of that will happen, and why we're going to have a much larger population than what we see today, um, in the 1,000 years, which I think would be an amazing sight. What is it going to look like 500 years from now? Um,
I wanted to talk about what chapter did we just read? 23?
23
23, yeah.
and
Um,
me.
okay. If you start 23, okay. Verse 10, if there be any among you any man that is not clean by reason of uncleanness that chanceth him by night, then he shall go abroad out of the camp. He shall not come within the camp. But it shall be when evening comes, he shall wash himself with water, and when the sun is down, he shall come into the camp again. So I learned this at Sukkot last year from NAFRA, and this is a nocturnal emission.
Hmm.
So in the Dead Sea Scrolls, in the Temple Scroll on page 650, I'm sorry, on page 614, it's column 45, verse 7. No man who has a nocturnal emission is to enter any part of my temple until 3 complete days have passed. He must launder his clothes and bathe, and on the first day. On the third day, he must again launder and bathe. Then, after the sun has set, he may enter the temple. So this is just additional. I mean, it's just kind of just a verse to another witness to this. This
Is
is
this a is this a difference between an Israelite versus a priest?
Yes, I think so. So nobody can enter the house unless he's a priest anyway.
Well, this is actually so in chapter 23:10, this is talking about entering even into the camp.
Oh,
This, the temple scroll, is talking about, but I guess my point is that, well, I have 2 points. That It has to do with a nocturnal emission, and it's the process of cleanliness to clean and in order to come back, right? But the second point is that this is just another witness to the day ending at the evening. 3 complete days ends at the if they get if the nocturnal emission, that means it happened at night. Then there's 3 days that they are outside of the camp. Then at the evening, the end of the daylight period, they are able to enter back in.
Yeah, I see that. So it kind of sounds like the man also has to work on his thoughts.
I think in a lot of verses regarding uncleanliness, you're to do a lot of those things, but usually you become unclean at sundown, if I'm not mistaken.
You
I
become,
mean, you
yeah,
become clean at sundown, which again, like proves your point.
yep.
So, another note for that, I'm curious if this was for the man, is the woman not also unclean? And if they both were unclean and had to go outside the camp, who would watch the children? I know it doesn't say stuff like that, but that's kind of like where my mind goes. When you're out, when you're unclean, you're put outside of the camp.
Yeah, it is interesting that a woman, it's not mentioned here, but we know what makes a woman unclean is her like what,
Ernita.
yeah, Renita.
And they're both
I
emissions.
think it
Right, right.
So I do kind of think the woman's excluded myself.
Yeah, when she goes into her 7 day. Yeah.
She she would be unclean pretty much forever if she's married and of age, you know.
Yeah,
You have to be reasonable at some point, I guess.
right. And I think that's why, let's see, the man and the woman, yeah, if it's a well, if it's a sexual intercourse, they don't leave the camp. But it's a completely different story if it's a man himself having the emission. It means that there's some impure thoughts going on, and the emission is the result of it. You think we're going to have outhouses in the Millennial Reign?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, uh, I'm gonna have to know this stuff better than I do now. I'll admit that because I all of it's kind of like what? Because we're not practiced in this at all, but
I'm thinking we are going to have outhouses on the outside of the house rather
probably,
than inside because, yeah,
yeah, stuff. Yeah, somebody in the family is always gonna be unclean, probably for something, you know. But yeah,
I would have a fancy house built for me
yeah, yeah,
those 7 days. Might as well be vacation time.
yeah. There you go. Lounge chairs. All right, y'all ready? Is there anything else before we move on to 24?
No.
Nope, ready.
I can read.
Okay, thanks, babe.
Yeah.
When a man takes a wife and shall marry her, then it shall be, if she finds no favor in his eyes, because he has found a matter of shamefulness in her, he shall write her a certificate of divorce, and put it in her hand, and send her out of his house. And if she left his house and went and became another man's wife, The latter husband shall hate her and write her a certificate of divorce and put it in her hand and send her out of his house. Or when the latter husband dies, who took her to be his wife, then her former husband who sent her away is not allowed to take her back to be his wife after she has been defiled, for that would be an abomination before Yahuwah. And do not bring sin on the land which Yahuwah your Elohim is giving you as an inheritance. When a man has taken a new wife, let him not go out into the army, nor let any matter be imposed upon him. He shall take exemption 1 year for the sake of his home, to rejoice with his wife whom he has taken. No one takes in pledge the lower or the upper millstone, for he would be taking a life in pledge. When a man is found kidnapping any of his brothers of the children of Yashraal and treats him harshly or sells him, then that kidnapper shall die. Thus you shall purge the evil from your midst. Take heed, in an outbreak of leprosy, to diligently guard and do according to all the priests, the Levites, teach you. As I have commanded them, so you shall guard to do. Remember what Yahuwah your Elohim did to Miriam on the way when you came out of Mitzrayim. When you lend your brother a loan, do not go into his house to get his pledge. Stand outside and let the man to whom you lend bring the pledge out to you. And if the man is poor, do not sleep with his pledge. By all means, return the pledge to him at sundown, and he shall sleep in his own garment and shall bless you. And it shall be righteousness to you before Yahuwah your Elohim. Do not oppress a hired servant who is poor and needy, or your brothers, or of the strangers who is in your land within your gates. Give him his wages on the same day, and do not let the sun go down on it, for he is poor and lifts up his being to it, so that he does not cry out against you to Yahweh, and it shall be sin in you. Fathers are not put to death for their children, and children are not put to death for their fathers. Each is to die for his own sin. Do not twist the right ruling of a stranger or the fatherless, nor take the garment of a widow. But you shall remember that you were a slave in Mitzrayim, and that Yahweh your Elohim redeemed you from there. Therefore, I am commanding you to do this word. When you reap your harvest in your field and have forgotten a sheaf in the field, do not go back to get it. Let it be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow, so that Yahweh your Elohim might bless you in all the work of your hands. When you beat your olive trees, do not examine the branch behind you. Let it be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow. And you shall gather the grapes of your vineyard. Do not glean behind you, for it shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow. And you shall remember that you are a slave in the land of Mitzrayim. Therefore, I am commanding you to do this word.
All right. I think it's pretty straightforward stuff there. Anything anybody wants to
I just
comment
wanted to
on?
point out in verse 3, and if the latter husband hates her and writes her a bill of divorcement, that's the same hate version that we found in Malachi. So it's 8130. So this is having to do with a bill of divorcement, which is interesting, you know.
Yeah. You'd hope, they'd figure that kind of stuff out beforehand. But
Mhm.
anything else?
So in 16, fathers are not put to death for their children. Children are not put to death for their fathers, for like the sake of Korah and his companies, and other situations in scriptures where the entire family, like everybody was killed, even the animals. That would have to mean the whole household was kind of in agreement with that, of course, to be guilty of. We just seeing like Korah and the men speaking, but his wife was probably in agreement, and thus commanding and teaching that to their children, that your father is set apart. He should also be like Moses. Um,
That's
what do
funny
you
you
think on
said
that?
that, Faith, because that ran through my mind. Um, and I do think that was Yahweh's judgment, right? Yahusha. In other words, and again, he knows the minds and hearts of everybody. So he has full authority to make a judgment. But of course, we don't. So, and ultimately, I do think, and Yahweh says this throughout scriptures, ultimately, everyone will stand or fall based on their judgment and their judgment alone. So I do think ultimately he's talking about the great white throne judgment, right? I mean, because but he can, his judgment's a little different than everybody else's he sees, right? Because we just talked about how he commanded that men, women, and children, all living things, were to be slaughtered from the Canaanites. So he has his reasons. But I thought about that very thing, Cora, his entire family and all their children and even their animals went down. Good point.
Yeah,
Any other thoughts on that?
yeah, it does seem like they would have had to have been uh accomplices in the crime.